Dr. Julie Johnson. I'm the Assistant Dean and Director of Continuing and Professional Studies at the School of Communication and Information. And we are happy that you are joining us as we talk about Advanced Creative Operations Certificate Program. We have with us tonight our Assistant Director, Scott Delfino, who is in charge of marketing and enrollment, and our program lead for the Advanced Creative Ops program, Claire Carter-Ginn, and one of our graduates, Peter. Peter, remind me, you're from Lincoln. Can you tell I have trifocals on that I'm trying to read?
Lincoln Financial.
Lincoln Financial, welcome. And I just want to share a little bit about the agenda for this evening. Claire's going to share a bit about our program, and then Peter's going to talk about his experience, and then I'm going to talk a bit about the steps to the application process and enrollment, and then is it time for all of you to ask us questions, and we look forward to answering those. If there are questions that come up that occur to you after our time together, just reach out to the team and we will answer those questions quickly. I will also tell you to please watch your email because those who have registered for our time together is going to get a special gift from Rutgers. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Claire.
All right. It's like a retail GWP. I love it. Well, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. For those of you on the East Coast, and I think everybody is Eastern time zone. Aren't we happy it's raining instead of snowing? But very happy to see you all. Thank you for coming. Excuse me, I've been talking all day, so I apologize if I have to stop and get a little water. But I'm really glad everybody was able to join us tonight. I'm Claire Carter-Ginn, as Julie said. I lead the Advanced Creative Operations program here at Rutgers. I'm also a strategic consultant focused on creative and content ops. I've been in the industry a long time, and as you'll hear as I say in a few minutes, that I've been doing this so long, it was before it was called creative ops, as probably a few of you were too. So I'll start out by saying I'm guessing that if you're in this room, one of a few things is happening. One, you're in creative ops and you're thinking, okay, I've created some amazing things, but what's next? Or you're creative ops adjacent and you're from the world of DAM, photo studio, marketing ops, production, or you're a creative leader, creative director, and you're ready to expand your scope. Or maybe you're just having that quiet and persistent pull to something bigger, something more strategic, something influential, something impactful. That is what this program was designed for. And over the next 5 to 10 minutes, I'm going to share why we built the program, what we cover, and what you can expect to get out of it. And then you'll hear from someone who has done exactly that. Vanna, next slide, please. Thank you. So I probably don't need to do this because I'm sure you're all seasoned pros, but I'm going to back up a minute and talk a little bit about creative ops, and I'm hoping that some of this resonates with you all. The way I think about creative ops is that as a discipline, it's still young, not the work, but the title. You know, even 10 years ago, maybe even 15 years ago now, we weren't calling it creative ops. We were called creative services, production, project management, or just plain old creative. And my personal favorite that we got called a lot was sort of do this, or can you make it work? It was sort of the fixer. Basically, the someone who was always fixing things was us, and we were always figuring it out. But I'd say over the last 5 years especially, something very important has changed, which is the scale of content, as you all know. We're now having to create content for everything, you know, not just campaigns and not just e-com, but social. We're doing video, we're doing in-store, packaging, internal communications, everything. And now even for channels that we didn't know existed maybe even last week. So at the same time, the expectations from leadership have dramatically risen, and we're being asked to produce more content faster and often with fewer resources. And so when you add in needing to implement AI, automation, new technology, this brings incredible opportunity, but real complexity as well. So really inside every organization, there's someone who has to figure it all out and figure out how it all works, figure out how we move from a product to a marketing plan to a creative brief, to creative concepting, review and approval, production, and distribution across all the channels, while maintaining brand quality, keeping our teams motivated and inspired, and frankly, not killing the creative magic. And to me, that is creative operations. We are a little bit like the wizard behind the curtain, if you will. So in this magical world of Oz that is creative, we're making the things happening. We've built workflows inside of spreadsheets. We've communicated by walking down the hall, by phone call, by Zoom, by email, and we've duct taped our tech stacks together, and we became the translators between creative, marketing, technology, and leadership. And something that I think many of us have realized over the last few years is that we've had this great community, and we have great conferences, which we were chatting about just a few minutes ago. We've got this wonderful group of peers, but we really didn't have a structured strategic education for creative operations leaders, a place to step back, look at the whole system, and learn how to lead transformation, not just manage traffic as it's going by. And so that's what we set out to build here at Rutgers. Vanna, please, next slide. Okay. So I'll talk a little bit about the program now. At the heart of the program is really about designing a program to help experienced professionals who are ready to move from the day-to-day to a strategic leadership role, and moving to how we shape creative and content organizations strategically and how they operate. You know, as I was thinking about it today, our students come from all over the world. People work in retail or technology, they're in-house or they're at external agencies, they're in media, CPG, B2B, B2C, and from startups to global brands. And some come from creative operations directly. Others come from fields like, photo studios, DAM, marketing ops, production creative, but we all share the same mission, which is to make creativity and content creation work better. And this might mean building out an in-house agency, redesigning workflows, implementing new technology or AI, or helping creative teams work more strategically within an org. But at its core, creative operations is about bringing together, as we all know, people, process, technology, and data and measurement. And this is the way I think we allow creativity to thrive. So just a little bit of background about the program. So our academic director, David Lipsey, who many of you know from the DAM world, and Dr. Julie Johnson, our Dean of Continuing and Professional Education here at Rutgers, they recognized something important, which is the discipline of creative ops was growing faster than the education that was available for it. Creative ops evolved very quickly, but there wasn't a structured path for developing the skills needed to lead this work. I think in many cases it was falling underneath another umbrella and not really having an opportunity for us as creative ops pros to grow into a bigger role. So when David and Julie reached out to me about building a creative ops program, I didn't hesitate, and neither did our co-developers, Amy Strickland and Corey Dill. And from the beginning, we knew we wanted to develop a course that we wanted to take, something that worked for real people, something that worked for people with jobs, lives, families, deadlines, people working in very different industries and organizations on different timelines and in different time zones. And so we brought together a group of seasoned professionals from different roles, different industries, and with different perspectives, but with one thing in common, which is we all do the work. We've all been in the trenches. We've built out those in-house agencies. We've optimized workflows, and we've helped evolve teams from order takers to strategic partners and evolve our own careers in the meantime. And in partnership with the Rutgers team, the great group of curriculum designers, technology experts, and student experience leaders, we built the program we wished we had when we were growing our own careers. So let's talk a little bit about how the program actually works, which I think is probably what a lot of you might have questions about. So it is a 12-week asynchronous program that's organized into 3 modules of 4 weeks each. This structure allows you to work on your own schedule. Weekly, we have a recorded lecture, sometimes more than one, discussion groups, and then throughout the program, we have virtual meetups with the instructors and peers. We also have guest speakers who are from creative ops and adjacent fields, really depending on what the interest of the cohort is. So I believe when Peter, who's going to chat with us in just a moment, one of our graduates, when he was taking the program, we had someone come in and talk about AI because that's obviously a big topic right now. We've also had people share their own journey in their own careers. And the great thing about it is everybody's journey has been different. So we're learning something every time we have someone and speak with us. So what we've done is we've really developed the modules so that each focuses on a different stage of creative ops leadership. In the first module, we focus on understanding the current state of your creative operations, not how things should work, but how things really work. Pause for 1 second, so sorry. All right. So what we do is we sit down and we take a real look at people, process, technology, and data. And we map out our workflows, we evaluate our team structure, and we look at our tech stacks, not based on the future, but based on what's actually happening today. And we identify where the system or where the organization is running on real systems and where it's really running on the heroics of the department. And so by the end of this module, our students have completed the SWOT and a creative operations capability assessment for their own organization and have a clear view into what's working and where opportunities exist. In module 2, I think this is where things get really exciting. And granted, I teach module 1, so of course I'm very passionate about the fundamentals, but module 2 is where we start working on designing the future state. And this includes defining the ideal structure for your people, process, technology, and measurement and data. And then creating a phased roadmap to work towards that evolution. It's not just a theoretical vision, it is a realistic path forward that we can see and that we can take to leadership. I think the thing is that as creative ops leaders, we already have a ton of great ideas, but what we need is the time to sit down and be strategic and create a plan that will survive and thrive in the real world. And that is what we do in module 2. And then the final module focuses on leading transformation, because while strategy is extremely important, and I always say we need to start with strategy, it doesn't change organizations, the people do. So we focus on building business cases, engaging stakeholders, communicating value, navigating resistance, leading change, and driving sustainable transformation. And the final assignment brings everything together. You present a business case designed to elevate your creative operations within your own organization. And this is the part that I really love. So many of our students have taken that presentation directly to leadership and used it to secure investment, redesign teams, drive measurable change, whatever it is you have decided to work on based on what you've been working on throughout the program, that is what your final business case is about. We're teaching leadership skills, we're teaching the ability to interact with the executive, the C-suite, to hopefully drive a seat at the table with a strategic look. It's really a marvelous program. I think that to me, it is both practical and purposeful. So it's interesting and it's valuable in its end result. So basically, by the end of 12 weeks, what you will have built is a clear assessment of your creative ops, a strategic roadmap of what good, better, best, or current, interim and future state looks like, a workflow and tech stack evaluation, and a business case to take to leadership. Our hope is that every one of your assignments are something that you could take to your leadership at any stage to help really affect change within your organization. And I think one of the most important things that comes out of the program is hopefully the language and confidence to articulate creative operations at the executive level. If we can't explain what we do, it's often hard for leadership to understand why they should give us the money. So this is one of the things that we work on in the program. I think this work is just as much about influence as it is about infrastructure, and that's what we aim to teach in the program. So I've yammered on for a few minutes, but rather than just hearing about the program from me, I would much rather you hear about the program from someone who has actually been through it and used this work in the real world. So I'm very excited to introduce Pete Safran. Pete is the Vice President of Creative at Lincoln Financial, where he leads creative, content, and creative operations. He's also the president of the Communications Media Management Association, an organization dedicated to advancing media leadership across industries. So Pete is great. He's been through our program. He's a creative leader who inherited Creative Ops. And before I tell the whole story, Pete, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us, and we're glad you're here. I will hand it over to you.
Thanks so much, Claire, and happy to be here. Yeah, as Claire said, I run a team of about 30 people. I started out as a video producer and storyteller back in my day. And I grew into this position rather quickly, victim of my own success, which was great. They kept giving me more people to take on. I was getting more and more out of my comfort level as I moved on. I'm not a project manager by nature. I'm a creative. So when I found this course through CMMA, I thought, okay, let me try a couple things here. One, maybe I'll learn a thing or two that I don't know. My expectations were not high. And then I thought, secondly, my boss will probably think it's pretty cool that I'm doing it. I figured it couldn't hurt. She'd see that I'm trying, whether I got a lot out of it or not. So my expectations were not what I ended up with. What I ended up receiving was almost, dare I say, career changing for me in my world, because it elevated what I was bringing to the table. My mindset had still been in the world of creating and trying to just make the other folks around me better creators, but I wasn't doing a good job for the organization about how the creative team should be structured, how the processes should be. Not that I had to do it all, but how did I direct the people under me to, be able to put the right strategies in place. AI was definitely coming on. So I was in the course last year and AI was really starting to get hot. How are we going to manage it? What were my leadership peers thinking of, future work? Are we working towards a model where we can start leaning into AI more? Will that affect workforce? So all these things I had thought about, but had no idea where to begin or where to, where I was going to get any of that structure for. Started taking this course. And by, week 2, I was like all in. I literally was using the homework that I built to use in presentations or in things with my team, with my leadership team. And immediately my boss was like, impressed, which is never a bad thing. She's the chief marketing officer at Lincoln. But, learning things about vision canvases and empathy charts and just different tools. And I don't use them all, but I used a few of them right away to help me decide how I wanted to structure the future. I remember one of the speakers was like, if you could start with a blank canvas, would you have the department you have now, or would you have something vastly different? And I had never thought of it that way. And I'm like, yeah, I inherited a lot of these folks, and there's a certain expectation I should be having for what they do. So through this vision canvas exercise, I was able to map out where I wanted to be in 2 years or 3 years. Is it all going to happen? Maybe not, but at least I needed to know where I wanted to head before I could just start going there. The homework, the work, as she said, is asynchronous. I would maybe on a Tuesday, the course work would come through, or maybe at lunchtime, I would watch some of the lectures. Most of it's all video based, some reading articles, but every one of them was, pretty interesting. There was a couple duds in there, not going to lie, but easy to work through. And then by Wednesdays and Thursdays, you're on the chat board where you're working with your other folks that, you meet a couple times during the course, and you're saying what you thought of the course, how you're doing it in your world. And I'm telling you, I learned so much from the peers in the class. We got real ideas that we would, say, I'm not shy, I'm going to steal that from you and start implementing that right away. So that in and of itself was valuable. And then by about Friday and Saturdays, when I start to hit the PowerPoints and start working on my interpretation of the work. And I almost always use something within my sphere of work that was going to be useful. In other words, I didn't just, regurgitate information. I was figuring out how can I figure it out. Like this one thing we had was a photo headshot process. We would take all these photos and it was taking us forever to get the headshots edited and out to the people. And so I used some of the techniques to figure out a better process for doing it, getting more people involved, using AI to some extent. And, my team was like, this is awesome. So just so excited. Again, not what I thought I was going to get out of it was totally different what I did. It's propelled my career. I said it's career defining. I mean, it helped me. I can't, promise you're going to get this, but it definitely helped me, get better bonuses or get better reviews by the end of the year, because my boss really saw that I was taking the operations much more seriously than I had up until that point. So I think I kind of gushed enough about it. Hopefully Claire, we talked a little before. Was there anything I didn't hit that you thought you wanted me to hit about it?
No, I think that's great. Of course, we're going to have to talk offline, and I want to know which ones are duds because we're going to re-record.
None of yours, that's for sure.
Good answer. Okay. Well, and I think that's the beauty of the program too, is that there is something for everyone, because there are going to be certain lectures, certain readings, certain discussion points that may not apply to something you're doing today, but they're still valuable because they may be. It's a little like being prepared for anything. This is a strange analogy. I love a strange analogy. It's a little bit like being James Bond. You have to know, as a creative ops pro, you have to know a little bit about everything or a lot about everything. And so one of the things that we try to do in this course is give you a variety of different subjects and a variety of different resources to use, including webinars, including podcasts, including readings, as well as the lectures and the discussion groups. And we're constantly updating those so we can make sure we're talking about as many of the hot topics as possible, so that you are aware of what the different resources are that's out there. And of course, we love it when the students also come and say, I read this article, it's fabulous, or I'm starting to follow this new podcast, because we are a community at our base and we want to make sure we continue to support each other. And again, like I said earlier, I learned so much being in the discussion groups with all of our students in the cohorts, because everybody's constantly bringing a new problem to the table and a new solution and new ideas. And before I go on too much, Pete, that was great. I really appreciate it. And I think we're going to hand it over to Julie for some of the specifics.
Okay, so I want to just mention a couple of things that Claire and Peter talked about, and that is the way in which we designed the program. So in addition to the leadership strategies and so much of the good curriculum, the design part of it was not only to build your skills, but also to build your competencies and your strategic thinking across the 12 weeks of the program. The other piece of this puzzle, when David and I sat with Claire, was finding a team of faculty who was passionate about pouring into the next generation. So while we designed it so you can listen to a lecture during lunch, as Peter talked about, we wanted to be sure that the faculty was a live person for you for the month as you're going through that module, so that your faculty member is in the discussion boards with you, challenging, stretching, providing more resources, clarifying all the things, all the mentoring pieces of the program is because you have a live instructor with you, in addition to looking at your assignments, which we also specifically designed so that they were contextualized to your context. That was very important to us when we were thinking about each assignment. And then again, they are providing you with such deep feedback, but they are also ready to have a conversation. So during those meetups, one of the things that I love is when I hear from students who, yes, you might talk about hot topics, but they share about, I had this question and I really thought I was going to stump the professor, and I didn't. They knew so such depth of knowledge, and Claire's done a beautiful job in finding us really great faculty to come on this team. Claire, can you share a little bit? So you mentioned Amy and Corey. Can you share a little bit about the new members who are coming on the team to expand the perspectives for our students?
Yes, I'm very excited. We have 2 new instructors joining us this year, who probably many of you know from the Creative Ops community. One is Hoon Kim from Airbnb. He's been in the Creative Ops community for a long time, possibly as long as I have. He is a technology whiz. He's been with Airbnb for some years, working on Creative Ops, Marketing Ops. He's now the head of Creative Technology as well. He also is a pro around culture. He's part of their culture organization at Airbnb. It's very important there, especially, but he is just fabulous. And if I ever have a technology question, he's the first person I've asked, because if I would like to do something with technology, he knows a vendor who can help me, and he's tried just about everything. He's sort of, it's like he's test driven all the cars, and I can ask him if I should buy a Toyota or a Maserati, and he'll point me in the right direction. So Hoon will be joining us in the spring cohort, as well as Heidi Thunberg. And Heidi was most recently the head of Marketing Ops, Creative Ops, and Photo Studio, so basically all content ops at Best Buy. She is a powerhouse, especially around AI. She led their AI initiative, which I know for Best Buy doesn't necessarily sound like the sexiest thing, but to have her explain how they did it strategically and how they started embracing AI and testing AI, it's one of the most interesting stories. And she's had an incredible career journey. She is a fabulous leader and a wonderful mentor as well. So Hoon will be teaching, the second cohort, and Heidi will be teaching the third cohort. And then we also have an instructor from within the Rutgers DAM program who's going to be joining us in Creative Ops. And Julie, you know her a little bit better than I do. Would you mind talking just a little bit about who we're going to have join us for Module 1?
So Lauren Stefanak is going to be joining us as well. And she has been teaching Creative Ops within our Digital Asset Management Bronze Certificate. So the beauty of this is that the live instructors, we have more vision bring to the table, and then you're going to see in the lectures Claire and Corey and Amy. So currently we are under application season, and the applications are being accepted for a class that starts April 6th. There's an opportunity to save a bit of money right now with early enrollment with a 15% discount, which is going to save you about $500. I'm a coupon person, so anytime I can save money, I love to share that with others. There are some people who prefer to pay monthly, which is possible at that $10.95 rate. We have some students who use Sallie Mae for a Sallie Mae loan, and that comes to me, and the approval process is very straightforward. We also have some individuals whose employers will sponsor them to come to Rutgers. If that's the case, when you fill out your application, it will ask if you are getting sponsored by your employer, and then there's a little bit of information we gather from you, and then we invoice them. They can pay either through check or wire transfer. Scott, next slide. And then this is our website. You'll see the red ribbon at the bottom. If you click on professional certificates, that will take you to the details of the Advanced Creative Operations Certificate Program, where you can have a deeper dive into a bit more of the program. And on the far right, it says Get Started. We're going to zoom in on that a little bit. If you click on Get Started, there will be a drop-down menu where it says Apply Now. That will take you to our application. The application process is so straightforward, and we try and give a response of acceptance within 48 hours. There are times when some applications will go to Claire for her to take a look. Sometimes it's a conversation where we just want to know a little bit more, because most important for us is that it's the right fit for you at this moment in your professional journey. And if you have questions, there's multiple ways to stay connected to us through our website, email, and phone. We would love to talk to you. And as I said earlier, watch your email because there's going to be a special gift from Rutgers coming to you soon. And we're running a little over time, but I do want to give us time to ask questions. Does anybody have some questions for the team? Tanya?
Yeah, thank you so much for the information. That was really appreciated. I think my biggest question, and I feel like it's already on the program there, is that it sounds like even from Peter's experience that you have to be in a position, in a job at the moment with creative ops to make this really work well, as opposed to in between jobs looking for a creative ops position. What would be your recommendation in that particular scenario?
I
Claire?
would say that you can do it both ways. And we have had numerous students come who are in consulting roles or freelance roles or just in between roles. Being a creative ops pro, you know that a lot of the challenges that we see in our job are very similar across many industries. It still cracks me up that some of the challenges that I had at Famous Footwear and Bain Consulting were the same ones I had at Louis Vuitton, even though the product is extremely different and the services are different. Some people find that it is beneficial to be in a role because they can kind of utilize current real estate problems to then develop solutions for to take back to leadership. But I have seen it both ways. It can also bolster your skill set. So you're gaining new skills for your toolkit to then take to additional new employers. So I have seen it work both ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to chime in. If if you're looking for a job and you put this certificate on your resume, and I'm hiring, I'm much more likely to hire someone who's been through this type of course. So if you can swing the fee yourself, you're not having a company pay for it. I strongly recommend taking it in between jobs. You don't need to be working on a position. It proves to me you've got that extra certificate or extra knowledge that's going to make you more valuable for hiring places.
Okay.
Tanya, we have seen also on LinkedIn job postings that there's a growing number of organizations where the Rutgers certificate programs is preferred qualifications. And so it's certainly something to add to the portfolio when you sit down to have the conversation for that next job interview.
Yeah. Well, and can I ask, do you feel like the curriculum is only geared to marketing, or could it be used in other type of business operations? I mean, it seems very marketing focused, which is where I've been at, but there are other jobs out there that are not so marketing focused, but operations focused. What is your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it is creative operations. So it is about content and creative. I mean, obviously, a lot of these skills and road mapping and developing business plans can be transferable. Do you have a specific instance in mind?
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking to a startup that has no operations whatsoever. It's very limited. It's not marketing, but it is definitely, I've been in a creative operations role for a long time. So that's why they kind of came to me. They asked for a different type of person, but when I talked to them, I'm like, yeah, this is an operations role. It's just,
right.
I need to apply what I know from a creative operations role if this is, where I end up. So, it's more of an environmental agency, but they like that I have the marketing experience because they thought that that would be useful for them when they get to the marketing. So that's why I was like, could this be transferable outside of an in-house agency or, a creative agency?
I think so. Certainly, we do a number of things like obviously the SWOT, looking at the tech stacks. These are things that are probably transferable, but it is focused on content and creative. So we are looking more specifically at how it works in-house and also at creative agencies.
Okay. Thank you. Very, very helpful.
Any other questions? If you have questions, please, at least for me, I'm often in a meeting, and then as soon as the meeting is over, I have the question that I really need to ask. So know that we are here, and just send us an email or give us a call, and we'd be happy to have a conversation with you all. Thank you so much for sharing part of your evening with us, and have a great night.